Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, what we have here is a huge breaking news, right? Something huge. This is something that I'm probably reporting because it's pretty crazy. We have here where Kamala Harris is actually committing election interference, manipulating X to censor criticism, and all that great stuff because obviously they have to cheat in order to win an election because there is no other way that they can do it fairly, right? Because this is the way that they do it, and we have all the evidence that we need here to actually prove this, along with some more interesting news that the White House has committed a federal crime, but I digress, right? It can't possibly be that big of a deal, right? So, what we have here is this from the Federalist saying, block community notes we don't like. Harris campaign caught red-handed manipulating X to censor criticism. Goes on to say here, in part of this investigation into Kamala Harris' presidential campaign is deceptively manipulating online platforms. It was revealed that the campaign is operating a Discord server that directs hordes of volunteers to use their social media accounts to deceptively push election propaganda. The goal is to artificially manufacture consensus by making pro-Kamala Harris messages on social media appear more popular than they are, and it is often done in violation of the terms of service of the social media platforms. In more extreme cases, they are encouraging people to skirt election laws and using these as turfing campaigns to spread disinformation they think will help win the upcoming election. Yesterday's report documented how the Harris-Walz campaign has seen great success in manipulating Reddit's algorithm, but that isn't the only social media site they're manipulating. The campaign has also been targeting Elon Musk's X, perhaps the most influential site for political news. One particular goal, according to a user of the Harris-Walz campaign Discord server, is to get campaign volunteers to swarm the site and block community notes we don't like. Prior to Musk's purchase of Twitter, the site's management was known for practically removing information and regularly banning users in a way that employed a double standard that heavily disfavored conservative opinion. Musk, a free speech advocate, sought to institute a more neutral way to deal with misleading news, and the community note system was born. So, that's what's going on here. But what we have here is this. Throughout this campaign, Harris-Walz official accounts have been remarkable conduits for disinformation and have regularly provided dishonest presentations of the Trump campaign. There's always a wonder on why they were never community noted. This is going to explain why. The Harris campaign's X accounts have been so bad that even CNN fact-checker Daniel Dale, who has been very harsh on Trump for several years, wrote an entire column highlighting the errors and dishonesty. Despite this, virtually none of the false misleading tweets from Kamala Harris campaign have community notes appended to them. One likely explanation for this discrepancy is that the Harris campaign is directing vote volunteers on its Discord server to vote down community notes even when those notes accurately say the campaign is being deceptive. I could actually agree with this. When I posted a thing on the Republicans against Trump post, and I posted the actual post of showing all the abortion states that allow you to abort a child up to birth into their their channel there, it was immediately gone. It was gone. So they somehow made it remove the actual post. So I'm not surprised that this is what's going on here. In the example below, after Kamala HQ tweet claimed Trump referred to Americans who don't support him as dangerous people, Timothy Durrigan, an employer of the Democratic National Committee, urges campaign volunteers to vote down a community note that accurately pointed out the campaign was taking Trump's remark out of context. Trump was actually speaking about those in the American government responsible for leaking information related to Israel plans. This is what we have here. This is Timothy Durrigan, says D at the end of his name, says, can folks rate notes on this as a not helpful? And it says Kamala HQ on X. The community note in question was misleading. Trump is not referring to Americans who don't support him. He's referring to a leaker in the State Department who gave Israel's war plans to Iran. And this is what we have here. It goes on to say, in the Twitter community notes, channel found on the Harris-Walz Discord, paid Democrat staffers are also writing dubious community notes on X to undermine GOP and Trump messaging. They then encourage volunteers to rate them positively. So we're going to zoom in here for everybody to see. So what we have here is the D indicates a paid Democrat staffer. Here's a community note. This is by Matthew Ray. Yes, I'm exposing these people. Screw you for doing election interference. It says Timothy Durgan just rated helpful, and they all have D's under their names, and they're adding on in Discord tweeting notes. This is the speculation. No suggested contest to be shown with the post. Biden's son died at a brain tumor likely caused by a burn pit in Iraq where he served. In 2017, Biden was named a presidential practice professor at Penn. Trump did say there was verified people on both sides after white supremacists marched in VA. So they're manipulating the community notes. Going on to here, says, surprisingly, these notes are often filled with half-truths, misleading information, or lies, such as explaining how Joe Biden's son's brain tumor must have been due to his service in Iraq. Again, it goes on here to say that the currently rated helpful and all this stuff when they're talking about this. Since X Community Notes upvoting system is designed to mitigate political bias for far better than Reddit's, the Harris campaign's attempt to manipulate community notes on X hasn't been as successful. One Harris Walls Discord lengthily expressed their frustrations at the bias mitigation system used by community notes, which is inputted to prevent the user. They say, that's my impression after voting on 80 plus CNNs over the past week and looking at what gets through and what doesn't. The pattern I've seen is that CNNs only get proved on tweets that are obviously incorrect and not controversial for anyone. And to put the TLDR, it's because the CNN system is looking for notes that get people who normally disagree with each other to agree the note is worthwhile. So a community notes needs people who normally believe misinformation to cross over and agree that in fact this case is misinformation. Other astrosurfing operations. The Harris Walls Discord server provides access to an app called Reach, which gives its users access to a database of entertaining Harris Walls campaign. Also has introduced Radar, a feature that lets users see post volumes on specific topics using messaging guidance from their 3 Reach posts. I found evidence of hundreds of astrosurfing profiles for the Harris campaign on X. The same search was done on Google with one of the images suggesting broader reach. While the Google data is larger, it is also likely incomplete while X data is complete. The scale of this operation continues to grow. And all this stuff, right? So it's showing here exactly Democrat tell users to post this text to social media via an app called Reach, and has the radar. Number of times the exact text has appeared on X over the past 3 days, and this is ongoing here. This is consistently going. Users can connect their own personal social media accounts to the Reach app, so they can easily repost memes, videos, and other content that promotes the ideals of the Harris Walls campaign. While topics related to current events routinely trend on Reddit and X, other platforms such as TikTok and Instagram gear themselves towards entertaining content. To target these platforms, the campaign is also reaching. Unfortunately for them, the content they provide pretty much resembles your liberal arts Facebook timeline. To people who have spent years online learning the nuances of meme culture, this is fundamentally repulsive. It embodies the authentic nature of modern internet, which has seemingly replaced the old net in the last 2 decades. So, yeah. This is what's going on here. So, that being said, Kamala Harris and her campaign have massively committed election interference. This is not a lie. This is not a debate. This is truth. This is reality. She has committed election interference. It is bad. It is to the utmost level of horrendous. And I agree that these people need to be arrested. These people need to be have something put onto them, right? For example, what I mean by put onto them, they need to be charged with election interference. That's what that needs to happen. And on top of that, Discord should immediately ban every last one of these users in the Discord, and also ban that server from Discord, because they're committing massive election interference. That's what Discord should do, because this is a huge problem. And of course, we have this here, fact check, come out. Harris campaign social media account has repeatedly deceived with misleading edits and captions. This is what's on CNN. So that's not good. And what we have here is from Western Lensman. Now, we're moving on to the White House situation, right? We're moving on to them. And this is saying, Peter Doocy nails the White House down for altering Biden's garbage transcript and engaging in a clear cover-up. They are now as mad as you will ever hear a stenographer on the record that White House officials tried to change the meaning of their transcripts. The Biden White House tried to lie to the American people, despite what they clearly saw in the video, and now have been busted in a cover-up. The Harris campaign keeps losing control of news cycles because of this garbage comment, and the clean-up and the White House staff apparently trying to change the meaning of something that everybody who's watched the clip could hear with their own ears. It is looking like this is becoming a classic case of the cover-up being worse than the crime, and the crime was politically bad. So, yeah, that's what's going on here. So I'm going to show you the actual clip of him kind of briefly talking about this, because it's wild.
We have a story about White House stenographers. First time this whole cycle. The White House stenographers come with the House. They are not political. Some of them have been there since Trump and will be there after Biden. And they are now as mad as you will ever hear a stenographer on the record that White House officials working for President Biden tried to change the meaning of their transcript. So it sounded like the president on that Zoom with Voto Latino was just criticizing a comedian instead of all Trump supporters. So now we've got a supervisor from the stenographer's office who is saying, our stenography office transcript released to our distro, which includes the National Archives, is now different than the version edited and released to the public by press office staff. And Amy Sands, the director of that department, continued, please avoid sharing rush drafts and excerpts, which are subject to review and might create confusion among staff, media, and the public, while our stenography office completes a thorough review process. The White House is not explaining what exactly happened here, just to say the president confirmed in his tweet on Tuesday evening that he was addressing the hateful rhetoric from the comedian at Trump's Madison Square Garden rally. That was reflected in the transcript. And they're getting some help keeping MSG top of mind from J-Lo.
Yeah, so that is a huge problem. That is a massive problem. And this is not like some type of small thing here. It says, even here it says from the Washington Times, the White House altered official transcripts of Biden's garbage remarks despite the stenographer's concerns. So, yeah, this is an ongoing thing. This is what's going on here. And here's another thing that people need to understand here too, right? As from Axios, White House officials altered transcript of Biden garbage comment. So, here's what we have here, right? This is what we need to talk about. So what we have here is this is a violation of the Presidential Records Act of 1978, PRA. And what this is I'm going to be going over it with you, is that it says here, the Presidential Records Act of 1978 governs the official records of presidents and vice presidents that were created on or received after January 20th, 1981. Beginning with the Reagan administration, the PRA changed the legal ownership of the official records of the president from private to public and established a new statutory structure under which presidents and subsequently NRA must manage the records of their administrations. The PRA was amended in 2014, which established several new provisions. Specifically, the Presidential Records Act, aka PRA, establishes public ownership of all presidential records and defines the term presidential records, requires the vice presidential records be treated in the same way as presidential records, places the responsibility for the custody and management of incumbent and presidential records with the president, requires that the president and his staff take all practical steps to file personal records separately from presidential records, allows the incumbent president to dispose of records that no longer have administrative, historical, informational, or evidentiary value once the views of the archivists of the United States on the proposed disposal have been obtained in writing. Goes on. It establishes in law that any incumbent presidential records, whether textual or electronic, held on courtesy storage by the archivists remain in the exclusive legal custody of the president, and that any request or order for access to such records must be made to the president, not NRA. This establishes that the president records automatically transfer into legal custody of the archivists as soon as the president leaves office. Establishes a process by which the president may restrict and the public may obtain access to these records after the president leaves office. Specifically, the PRA allows for public access to presidential records through the Freedom of Information Act, beginning 5 years after the end of the administration, but allows the president to invoke as many as 6 specific restrictions to public access for up to 12 years. Codifies the process by which former and incumbent presidents conduct reviews for executive privilege prior to public release of records by NRA, which have had formerly been governed by Executive Order 13489. Establishes procedures for Congress, courts, and subsequent administrations to obtain special access to records from NRA that remain closed to the public following a privilege review period by the former incumbent presidents. The procedures governing such special access requests to continue to be governed by the relevant provisions of EO 134089, establishes preservation requirements for official business conducted using non-official electronic messaging accounts. Any individual creating presidential records must not use an official electronic messaging account unless that individual copies an official account, as the message is created for or forwards a complete copy of the record to an official messaging account. Then, finally, prevents an individual who has been convicted of a crime related to the review, and retention, removal, or destruction of records from being access to the original records. So that's what's going on here, and they have violated this act. They have violated, and I think people need to be put in jail. I think people need to be charged. I think we need to do something, because obviously, if we do have laws here, that laws mean nothing if you do not make people get punished for the said laws. What's the point of having laws if we don't enforce them? So somebody needs to be punished here. Somebody needs to go to jail, and all these things, and especially Discord people. This is insane. This is election interference on the highest order. I have never seen it so blatant, and things need to be done. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted. This is algorithmic disease, the social media.